This is We Burlesque the Podcast. I am your host, Viktor Devonne, and I'm sitting in my car in Queens. And I'm sitting with the delightful Miss Cherry Delight.
Hi.
Hi. This is an awkward moment, perhaps, because we are sitting in my Hyundai Elantra.
But it's a nice car,
Thank
so.
you. It is covered. You see all my costumes in the back. That
Well,
tells
you're Viktor Devonne.
I mean, know.
You're.
It's a mess. But you know what it is I was at Coney yesterday. I did the Nerdlust Festival. And so I was like, I have to make sure I have all my stuff. And I just packed it in the back, and I was like, the hell with it. I'll worry about it later.
I don't mind. My house is like this.
Good.
I promise you.
Just maybe not as bright.
Yeah, maybe not as bright. Maybe with a lot more dark things and animal parts.
So one of the...
and cherries.
One of the most incontrovertibly linked elements of the Miss Cherry Delight mythos is Coney Island.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of people, to think of you is to think of Coney Island and vice versa.
Oh, so sweet.
And that is where we met, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
We were backstage. We met through It's a Little Stormy, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that... I didn't know what Miss Coney Island was. I hadn't really, that hadn't been part of my learning process yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you were probably, at least knowingly, the first Miss Coney Island that I ever met.
Yeah.
What was winning that title and the trajectory that brought you to as a burlesque performer and as an entertainer?
Well, I wanted to win Miss Coney Island so bad for so many years, and that was the first show that I ever saw in Coney Island.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Miss Coney Island competition where Gala Friday won.
Okay.
And I was just dipping my feet into the burlesque world when I was like, I want to be Miss Coney Island someday. That's what I want to do. So I befriended Bambi, and the thing about Miss Coney Island is you can't ask to compete. Bambi scouts the entire year to decide who has the most moxie to be able to handle that kind of a title. So she handpicks you. When Bambi asks you, you gotta say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that Bambi asks you alone means that Bambi thinks you're cool. If Bambi thinks you're cool, that in itself is a prize. Because she's the queen mother, we wouldn't have burlesque at the beach without her, and we wouldn't have, like Mermaid Parade with, all these things that she's given us. So, that's the mama. We gotta give our respect to her. So, I really busted my ass for that competition, and people always ask me, oh, how do you win Miss Coney Island? Anyone who's competing. And I always say the same thing. You gotta fucking bring it.
Mm-hmm.
What I say, when you enter any competition, just don't give people a choice. Just be like, listen. You're gonna vote for me. Just bring something that's so epic that people can't say no. It doesn't matter how many people you bring to see you. If you just put everything into it, people won't have a choice but to vote for you.
No, it's also meant to be, originally it was scripted. It was a scripted competition.
The original was scripted, but they did the votes anyway, and Bambi still won.
So.
Bambi's the first Miss Coney Island ever. It was scripted, but...
Didn't she win for a while?
No, she was the first.
Just the first?
The first one.
She wasn't the second, third, and
fourth?
No.
No. She was the first one. It was her thing. It started off as a joke, and then it became more serious and more serious and more serious. And it became not just a beauty thing, but now people expect you to give back to the community.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm very grateful that we have Pearls Daly right now as our Miss Coney Island 2019, because she's the only Miss Coney Island that's truly been raising a lot of money for our non-for-profit organization, because I don't know if you know, but last spring part of our ceiling collapsed and fractured the skulls of one of our dear performers, who is resilient and is fine, but God, what a nightmare. This building is very, very ancient, very historical. Every performer who was in Freaks has performed on that stage, and like with Hurricane Sandy and everything happened to it, but Pearls Daly has raised over $4,000 to fix the ceiling for the act that she does for it, and when she does it, people throw money onto the stage. She collects it all and gives it right back to Coney Island, and that's remarkable. When I was Miss Coney Island, during Hurricane Sandy, so my campaign was all about raising money for the theater and for the Mermaid Parade and stuff like that, but I wasn't personally collecting the money. Pearlie's...
You were creating awareness.
I was creating awareness and thank God we had a parade. And when I got to lead it, it was not a me thing, it was an us thing, because we did it together. Because the thing that's so great about Coney Island and so inspiring about Coney Island is it's been burned down, it's been drowned, people do all kinds of things to it, but you know what? It always fucking comes back. It always comes back. You can't keep a clown down, as you know. Can't keep a clown down!
So I know you get this question a lot, but now we can get it in audio format, so whenever anybody asks, you can direct them to it. We do have to address, why are you Miss Cherry Delight?
Why am I Miss Cherry Delight? I've always been cherries. My parents have been dressing me in fruit print since I was an infant, and a lot of it has to do with like my natural black hair and my lighter skin, and they're artists, and they were like, oh, this will be very striking on her, you know, like fruit and like primary colors and stuff like that. So wore a lot of cherries. I had a Cherry Mary Muffin doll. I had Hi-Ho Cherry-O. I had a hobby horse that I named Strawberry Blueberry Cherry. But the main thing that solidified the deal for Miss Cherry Delight, I don't know if you know, there's a grocery store called Stu Leonard's. Do you know about Stu Leonard's?
I only know it through you.
Oh, okay. So Stu Leonard's there's two of them. There's one in Long Island, but the one that I would go to growing up is in Danbury, Connecticut. Now, for anyone out there who doesn't know what Stu Leonard's is, it's basically a cross between a grocery store and Disney World. So there's not aisles. There's one aisle that's a maze. And throughout this maze, there's animatrons. Throughout the whole thing. There's a Twinkie the Kid. There's like all these crazy things. But in the fruit section, there is a Chiquita Banana animatron. And she sings this song. And, you know, whenever I'd go there, it's expensive. My parents couldn't afford, you know, to shop there, but we'd go to see the robots. And I saw that Chiquita Banana with the long eyelashes and the red lips and the fruit all over her and the sexy bikini top, and I'm like, you know, when I grow up, I want to be a sexy banana. You know, people have, when you're a kid, you kind of figure out, like, what the term sexy is by, most people figure it out when they see like Jessica Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But
the Va-Va-Va-Voom.
The Va-Va-Voom for me was a banana robot. And I'm like, oh, this is what sexy is. One day, I want to be a sexy fruit. And that's what happened. I mean, like, she had just like the long lashes, which is like the epitome of like what makes you feminine, and like I just thought that she was so beautiful. So I wanted to be a banana robot when I grew up, and that was another thing. So fruit equaled sex for me. And always like just the idea of like fruit equals like being desirable and being edible, and like the idea of I mean, growing.
Just the succulence of it.
Yes. Yeah. When you see, you know, round red things, don't you just want to put them in your mouth? You know.
Well, I mean that inevitably brings us to like the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Knowledge and all of that.
Yes, and I have a lot of poison cherries in my kind of aesthetic now, because the name Miss Cherry Delight, when I began over 10 years ago, started off as a very literal cupcake cutesy thing, and now what the name is, because I've evolved very much from an angel to a devil, it's a lore now. The name is a lore. It's a lore because what I do with my burlesque and performance art, and when I'm on stage singing anything, the persona is, you see the name and you think you're going to get a fluffy cupcake thing, and it's meant to make you feel safe, and it's meant to make you feel comfortable, because then it's too late. As soon as I make you feel like you're safe, I take that away from you to a place where you cannot hide from me or yourself. I want to be able to stay with you. I don't want to just be someone who goes on stage, performs for you, and leaves. I want my shit to stay with you while you're laying in bed and be like, I gotta sleep with the light on. That's what I want to do. So that the name is Cherry Delight. It's like Chucky, you know? Heidi ho! You think it's a doll, you know? You think it's a cute doll, and it's gonna stab you in the night. Wow. So the name is something that's meant to deceive you now.
So okay, so you grew up with the Fruit Prince and the feeling. I mean, did you feel fluffy and fruity and pink and
I always had the aesthetic, but I always wanted to be a witch and a vampire and all those things. So, like, that's always, the creepy cute has always been a thing with me, but one of the things that really solidified that aesthetic and journey for me were the Meat Cake comics. I don't know if you know Meat Cake. Oh, you'd love Meat Cake. What an incredible series. It's a cult series by Dame Darcy. It's just really beautiful and fantasy and dark and sexy and lots of creepy cute things, but the idea behind the meat cake is there's a beautiful cake and you cut into it and there's meat inside, you know? And actually, you know, I grew up with those comics like when I was a teenager, and I used to carry them everywhere with me, and Dame Darcy used to be like this beautiful image of her on the back, this gorgeous like princessy blonde, and I'd be like, wow, Dame Darcy, I hope one day I get to meet her. And now we're like best friends, which is crazy, and I own a lot of her artwork, and it's surreal. And you know, I just recently I texted her because I saw this beautiful image that she did of this like really rockin' girl with like a microphone. I was like, would you ever draw me like this someday? And she's like, of course I would. And I'm like, you know, 15-year-old Cherry would have never imagined this, but she's a very good friend of mine now, and she's one of the only like girlfriends that I have that I really roughhouse with, which is really crazy. So I'm like, you were my childhood idol, and now I'm like throwing you on a bed and like straddling you and whispering into your ear, you're a piece of shit. And like we're very very close, and we love each other very much.
So when you were realizing, you know, the dichotomy as a child into a young adult, when did the interest in the occult and serial killers and nasty things sort of creep up? When was your first exposure to that?
I always kind of loved kind of spooky things, but I think that...
Was Halloween your favorite, or was that for amateurs?
Oh, I mean, Halloween's always been my favorite thing in the world, but, you know, I've always been a Halloween person 24/7, 365, which is why, I mean, I'm just always been into pageantry, and whether it's Halloween, like, mostly for Halloween growing up, the days that the kids wouldn't pick on me were Halloween and the talent show, because pageantry was my thing. And I didn't just like to have a good costume. I wanted to have a costume that was always so good that people would be embarrassed for showing up. You know, my parents, like I said, I'm not close with them anymore, but you know, they're artists, and they would make me costumes from scratch that were really creative and really interesting. And you know, everyone else had store-bought things, and I, you know, when I was a teenager, I had like, they helped me do like Edward Scissorhands, and when I was in like second grade, I did Sally from Night Before Christmas, and my parents like made the dress, and they did like puffy paint for the stitches, and I had a whole thing. And so Halloween's always been special for me because that was a time of year where I always felt the most special, and I was due on Halloween, but I was 4 days late, so my birthday is November 4th. But it's still on, like, the Halloween...
So you just kept Halloween going?
Kept Halloween going all the time. One of the big spooky influences on me, just because I'm the performer, I would say, like, one of the performers that uses the most blood in the scene, or just one of the entertainers that uses most blood in general. And I've been actually keeping track of where that fascination came from with me. And one of the first things I remember is seeing the image of Francisco Goya's Saturn devouring his son.
Yes.
I locked eyes with that when I was little for like, it felt like forever. It was probably like 5 minutes. It felt like 20 minutes. But
it was like that scene in Ferris Bueller where you just kept staring at it. It just kept getting closer and
yes,
closer. And
that's
closer.
exactly it. That was one of the things. When I was 9 years old, when my uncle plays bass in the Hartford Symphony, which he has for a long time, and I went to Goodspeed Opera House, and I saw the most incredible production of Sweeney Todd with some original cast members. Timothy Nolan played Sweeney Todd, and he was terrifying. And there was so much blood in that production that it was in the orchestra pit. Like, there was so much blood. And when I went to the gift shop before I saw the show, my mom said, you can have one thing. And it was between, like, this apron that said, like, Mrs. Lovett's meat pie is the best pies in London. It had, like, a razor with, like, blood coming out of the pocket. Or the CD. And I didn't know if I would like it yet, so I got the apron. By the intermission, I had the apron on, was walking up and down the aisle, hyperventilating, because I just was so... There was a thing that clicked in my mind, you know, where I'm like, yes. Mm-hmm. So, theatrical blood, not real blood. Mm-hmm. I like theatrical blood. And now, when I really perform, people know me most of the time for this, the image of me butt naked, completely soaked in blood with the white eye contacts in. And when I'm like that, that's my Cinderella moment. When I am like that, that's my war paint. I feel so beautiful. I feel so invincible. So that's really my happy place, when I'm just like that in front of people expressing myself. So that's what makes me feel the most powerful and the most pretty, which is funny.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because you are, as I think a lot of performers and a lot of fans of neo-burlesque, there's an expectation of neo-burlesque as a gritty and grimy and sort of a little bit more rough and tumble, but you still are very glam. So you may be covered in blood, but you still you still look like a beauty pageant contestant. Like the homecoming queen has some issues, but
the homecoming queen will take you home and fuck you and eat you,
right?
And they'll never find you again. You know.
So there's the sort of the sex and violence sort of
sex and violence.
Yeah. It's just there. It's not even a concept.
Very,
it's
very
just
much
present.
there. That is it. You know, Miss Cherry Delight is definitely the characters. You know, it's all about edibleness. You know, so she is definitely a cannibal. And the thing about Miss Cherry Delight
that also psychoerotic cannibal.
Yes. She doesn't expect her relationships to work out. So it's very much you can't break my heart if I
eat you first.
Right. She protects herself.
Can't break my heart if I eat yours first.
Yes, exactly. That is it. Yep, hit the nail on the head with that one. Mm-hmm. So, you know, when she goes out and she finds people that she connects with, the thing is, opposite of Anne Rice, she doesn't go after corrupt people. She'll go after the really nice ones. Like in the Cherry Blood music video that I have, like she goes, like a Mormon comes to her door and she seduces him, and this nice kind of like punky metalhead in the grocery store who's getting jars of cherries to make Manhattans, who's a bartender. She goes after him, and there's a fangirl also. It's like, oh my gosh, Miss Cherry Delight, and you know, she takes care of all of them. But she doesn't go after people who are bad people.
Those people would taste bad.
Right. So she eats clean. She's organic. So she goes after anyone who's really, really nice, who wouldn't want to leave.
Do you think that in the Cherry Delight sort of legend that you would be an anti-hero more than a villain, or do you think that...
I think people relate to Cherry because there's something very real about her, about wanting to be loved and seducing and having like raw sexuality, and it's a very much you're so cute I could eat you up.
Mm-hmm.
No, really, I could, and I will.
And here we go.
Right, but yeah, that's kind of what Miss Cherry Delight has evolved into as my brain has
Sure.
grown over the past 10 years, as I've kind of the more angry I've gotten, the better my art has become. And, now that I have really embarking on my music career outside of burlesque, that does still have performance art in it, the rage that I've brought into it has made my art mature and have so much more depth. And you can hear that in my music. So it's really important to me. And I think that, the past 10 years, it's brought me to the music because in the beginning, I wasn't ready to create material like this. It happened organically. And one of the things that really led me to it, I'm a professional singer, first and foremost. I've been singing professionally for over 20 years, mezzo-soprano. I have a very heavy Broadway and jazz background, and it's one of the things that supports my rock singing because I have that bluesy kind of undertone to that, that can amplify the power in my voice.
And you can go back and forth in the same song with whispery,
yes,
to guttural,
yes,
to like basically there's like a moment because we just listened to the full album of like this almost like chanteuse moment where like you just have a second just lounging on the piano and then you go back to like sharpening knives.
And in the past year, one of I think the smartest moves that I've done is I started taking metal voice lessons and learning how to properly scream with Jonathan Stancato of Sing a Secret. And, protecting my voice by learning how to scream. If I didn't and I kept screaming the way I was, I would have gotten nodes in my throat, and then I wouldn't be able to sing anything. I would have really fucked up. So learning to be able to scream comfortably and do that, and then I'm just able to go back into singing regularly.
And there's so many rock stars that learn that late. Like they even
you gotta learn it.
Well, everyone from like Courtney Love to Adele, like when they like there are stories of them. They're releasing the first music, then they get into it, and then suddenly on tour, something happens and they need to take care of it. A lot of times artists just try not to, and that's the difference between like Hole's Violet and like the belting of what Adele does. But still, the power in your voice, and especially singing that consistently and that raw, but that untrained, frankly, can do...
It can hurt you real bad. It can hurt you real bad. And it's funny because when you scream, you have to actually, instead of, you would think like, oh, you have to really tense and think about something that makes you mad. You have to relax when you scream. Isn't that funny? You have to totally relax to be able to make monster noises. And the thing that really helped me was stopping trying to be someone else. I'd be like, oh, I want to scream like Wendy O. Williams from the Plasmatics. Oh, I want to scream like Manson. I want to be able to scream like, this person, that person. And when I stopped and said, look, you're going to sound the way you're going to sound. You're going to sound like you. It was really important to me also for people to say, instead of saying, oh, she screams like Jessica from Jack Off Jill. I want people to be able to say, you got to hear this girl, because I never heard anyone like her, and her scream is totally her own. I'd much rather someone say that, because I want to be me. Right. All those people are already taken, I want to be able to have my own unique sound, and that's what I want people to hear when I release this on May 11th.
It's coming up. How long did it take you to record it? Well, I mean, okay, actually, I guess, how long did it decide, when did you decide, okay, rockstar moment, I'm writing stuff. Had you already written something by the time you decided to start recording? Or did the recording, okay, that'll kick my butt, and then I'll finally start writing shit down?
No, I'll tell you the story how this came to be.
Okay.
So, in 2017, Guar approached me with Matt Miner, who is the writer of the Orgasmageddon comics, and they hired me to play the new female Estrogina for the release of the comics. So I was the new female representative in the Guar lore. And Guar is one of my favorite bands of all time. And that was a dream come true for me. So when I presented Estrogina at 5 Points Fest, I was completely surprised at how accepted I was, because she's a very special character. She's nothing like Slimenstra. Slimenstra is very much all about herself, and she's the goddess, and you have to worship her, or she'll put you in your place, you know. But Estrogina is very much the lethal girl next door. You know, I mean, Slimenstra sings a song called "Don't Need a Man," and
their lounge moment.
Yes, and Estrogina, she's like, well, you know, everyone in Guar is a guy, but that's my tribe, that's my family, that's all I've got. So she understands the team dynamic, and she knows that if she's in trouble, they'll help her, and if they're in trouble, of course, she's gonna save them. So she understands, you know, they're boys, but they're my boys, you know? And that's one of the things that makes her the most lethal, is because she gives a shit. And when you fuck with a mama bear, oh, it's bad.
Right, you think it's always going to be the person who has nothing to lose to be the most afraid of.
Nope. It's someone who's defending people that they love. That's the most scary. And that's one of the reasons why Estrogina is scary when she fights. But she also will go out for a slice of pizza with you later. And, you know, one of the things that's great about the comics is the thing that's... She's adorable, but she's lethal, and she's smart, and she's the first Guar woman that's ever been funny. That was really important to me. They'd never had a girl that was funny. She has some of the best one-liners, and one of the best things she does in the comics is she gets them to go in the time machine, the meat rocket, back to World War II, and they kill Hitler, and they save his dog. It's great. And they kill a bunch of Nazis, and it's awesome. But that was Estrogina's idea. So, being Estrogina, I got a lot of fans. I got artwork, like fan art from all over the world. I still get fan art from that. And later on in that summer, I went to Maine, to Coast City Comics, and I did a signing there with Matt Miner. Flew out there. There was a line out the door to meet me, and there were especially girls. Or I hugged every single person. A lot of girls got really emotional and said, "I just really want to see a girl up there kicking ass," you know, like just getting Donald Trump and stuff. Like, but you know, a little bit later, Guar decided that they were going to go in a different direction. So I was really, really upset about that, because I put everything into that. And I put, you know, I wasn't serving Miss Cherry Delight. I was trying to serve Estrogina as best as I could, trying to give them exactly what they wanted. And Bambi the Mermaid, who's my cosmic mom, I always say that she's the mom that I should have had. She's married to Sexecutioner from Guar, which is crazy and amazing, and they're perfect for each other. They're just two cartoons. But the thing is, with my disappointment as Estrogina, it really broke my heart. Bambi kind of shook me by the shoulders and was like, "You don't need them. You don't need them." And she said to me, you know, let's say they did let you in. Let's say that they let you into the band. Is it really going to be exactly what you imagine it's going to be? Probably not. When she broke that down to me and said, would you rather be someone else's intellectual property, somewhere as a footnote, or would you rather be the main thing? I said, oh my God, she's right. And I had never thought to myself, well, what does Miss Cherry Delight really have to say? And I was on the Manhattan-bound L, took out the notes on my phone, and I wrote the lyrics to Cherry Blood. and that was the first song that I'd ever written in my entire life. August 18th, 2018. And I went to my friend Mike Forzano, who is the music director who I've worked with for any of my musical shows, and I said, I have a song, what should I do? He said, go to Justin Matthews. I went to Justin, and like 4 days later, we recorded that song, and that was the first song I ever wrote. And I was like, this is gonna be the song that I'm remembered for. And it's so funny. I don't think that that's true anymore, because you know, I've written so much more mature material than that. But then I wrote this song called The 31st about celebrating Halloween all year long, and I released that on October 13th. That was the first song that anyone ever heard from me that was my own. Then I released Cherry Blood on Halloween, and now since then I've written a 14-track album called Eat the Evidence. It was finished and mastered on March 28th, and it's being released on May 11th. That day and that night, we're all going to celebrate in Coney through Music of Curiosities and Brooklyn Arts Council, who are sponsoring it. I'm going to perform the whole thing in order at the theater for the first time ever. And it's going to be like a real party. It's going to be catered by Moods Foods. And it's going to be a real celebration. And this is going to be my, hello world, this is Miss Cherry fucking Delight. And it's incredibly exciting and terrifying, because I just really want it to go well. You know? I get it.
Well, are you a perfectionist? Would you say that?
Yes, I'm very much a perfectionist. I am like, I'm going to do it perfectly, and if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not gonna do it. That's very, very much who I always am.
How good are you at second takes or third takes? Do you want to nail it the first take? Do you resent having to try it again?
I'm gonna do it till I get it right.
You're gonna do it, okay.
You know, what's funny is I sang this entire album and I didn't warm up once. We recorded like so many days from 9 to 5, and well, I guess I kind of warmed up in the shower at home, in the biblical sense. That kind of helps. I do what I call triple death, triple little death in the morning, and that kind of like just loosens me up and gets me ready. So I guess I do warm up before I get to the studio. I warm up like that. So yeah, I never like did vocal exercises before getting into the booth. But I came to Justin with all these different songs that I was writing, and as I continued to write, my music began to mature, and you can hear that throughout the album, actually, because the way that I put the tracks is almost entirely the way that I wrote them.
What is the evidence that you're suggesting that you eat?
Eat the Evidence has to kind of do with the cannibalistic tendencies of Miss Cherry Delight, and it also has to do with kind of my own outside of the performance world life, because I had a really fucked up childhood, and the people around me didn't do anything to help me, so they kind of ate my evidence in a way, which is funny that faux pas kind of, she pointed that out to me, that second element of the title. So Eat the Evidence has to do with a lot of different things, and also just Miss Cherry Delight being edible, and there's just food, people as food, me being food, food in general.
It's a banquet everywhere.
Is a banquet, whether it's actual food or people. There's a lot of blood, and it's a good time. So on May 11th, we'll all get to eat the evidence together.
Before we break into some of the tracks and some of the reasons and the rhymes and all that,
yes,
I want to address one element, I think, of pop culture right now, and not necessarily that you're terribly concerned with necessarily, is authenticity.
Yes.
And that we want our icons, our heroes, and even our celebrities to be as authentic as possible, so that we can look up to them and hold them to a position or a pedestal that they can't possibly live up to, or so that we can tear them the fuck down, because we live in that sort of, you know, cannibalistic world.
Right.
the idea of concept albums and performer identities and taking on character for albums. I mean, there was a big rise of that with Ziggy Stardust, and even with like the Styx albums, and like and Tori Amos has also worked with that.
Yeah.
Madonna's new album is actually apparently all a new character. How do you approach people who say, like, well, I don't know if she's a real person? How do you prove the authenticity of if you use Miss Cherry Delight in the third person? Which I understand, because I also use Viktor Devonne in third person, but he's me. I am him.
That's exactly it. Remember the meme that was like, what if Miss Cherry Delight is Viktor Devonne? What if Viktor Devonne's Miss Cherry Delight? That was a meme that went around for years, that we were like that we were each other, which I loved that so much.
Mirror universes.
Yeah.
And yet in the same universe.
Yeah.
So how do you explain Miss Cherry Delight as you? How are you, Miss Cherry Delight?
Miss Cherry Delight is an amplified version of me. It's a fantasy version of me, but it's very much me exposing who I am through art. What I do on stage, though it's all, can get pretty fantasy and glittery and bloody and stuff like that, it's me expressing what's inside of me.
Okay.
And it's always real. It may look over the top, but I am over the top. It's what I do on stage, what I sing, I mean it. And what I always say is, if you're going to get on stage, if you're going to sing, if you're going to present yourself, show me you. I want to know you. Give me exactly who you are. Just ring out the whole thing. And if you can't do that, don't waste my time. Time is a very precious thing, and we only get so much of it, and I'm never, ever going to waste yours. I'll never waste yours.
So how do you give yourself the most time? Do you feel pressured that you have only so much and you have to get this out of you right now? Or is it just the right time?
I think that, releasing this now, I couldn't have done this years ago. I couldn't have written this stuff years ago. That I feel pressured now because I only have a little bit of time to rehearse with my band and everything to get this ready, so I have something to show you for that launch. So that's where I'm feeling pressure right now, especially because I've never done this before. And Justin, I love him, my producer, guitarist, now that the album is done, he wrote all the melodies with me and helped me put the whole thing together. Now he's much like, fly bird fly, and I'm like, where am I going? So I'm trying to learn as much about the music industry as possible, because what I want to be known as is I don't really want to be known as a burlesque performer anymore. I am a burlesque performer, but I want to be a respected musician.
Sure.
And it's really interesting.
A musician who happens to do burlesque.
A musician that is a performance artist, like Alice Cooper and stuff like that. I was having a girl day with my best friend Pearl Staley, who I was saying who's the Miss Coney Island 2019. Had a girl day going to Coney last year, and I was on the train, and we were almost there, and I just kind of turned to her and I said, Pearlie, I want to be famous. And before I even finished the word famous, she just looked at me and said, why? And I didn't quite know how to respond, and she said, Cherry, you don't want to be famous. Kim Kardashian wants to be famous, and like Kanye West wants to be famous, and if you say that you want to be famous, you're going to attract the wrong people who are going to try to hurt you. You don't want to be famous. You want to be a respected artist. You want to connect with people, but you don't want to be famous. And I need you to stop saying you want to be famous. So I'm like, well, shit. I'm surrounded. Bambi and Pearlie, they kind of keep me on track. It's very nice to have such wonderful, powerful women in my life that kind of smack me when I'm being an idiot. Just help me kind of stay on the right path. So that's the kind of friends that you need. That'll be sweet to you, but are going to be real with you. That's really important. So I'm very grateful for them. And I'm grateful for those pep talks they give me, because they certainly stay with me.
Cast my spell, I'll drag your soul with me to hell. Cherry tears rolling out your eyes, taste so good, make a grown man cry.
Hi, this is Viktor Devonne, and you are listening to We Were Less, the podcast. You have just completed the first portion of my interview with Miss Cherry Delight, but there is a whole lot more, including a track-by-track analysis of her new album, Eat the Evidence, out May 11th, 2019. Please check out Part 2 when it is available, and you will learn a whole lot more, and I really appreciate you for listening. Thank you so much.
let's dive into the album.
Yeah, of course.
So we have 14 tracks. One has been released already to the public.
Cherry Blood.
But we start with Scorpio Witch.
Yeah.
Why was it in? Why does the your birthday and what your star sign is resonate with you? How do you find that being a Scorpio? And I find this true with a lot of Scorpios. If there is one star sign that's like, oh, that's total Scorpio.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's the one, or that and Gemini. But
Yes.
why is being a Scorpio important to you, and why is it accurate?
I've always been a Scorpio. It's the spookiest sign in the zodiac. And if you look at the body chart where they say like, oh, like the Leo is the heart and like all these different things, where is Scorpio? It's right in the crotch. It's right in the love button. Yep. That's what Scorpio is. And this is a really kind of primal track that kind of just brings you into the Miss Cherry Delight world and lets you kind of understand exactly where you are. And it has a really voodoo sound. I am a high priestess witch with my own coven, private coven, and it's eclectic, but I focus in voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a really voodoo-y kind of New Orleans sound to this. I wanted to kind of make it sound like I was singing into a dirty microphone in the French Quarter. The sound for this is very inspired by like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs and Dorothy and really rockin' track. Almost a 70s kind of rockin' track. That's really like primal and like, you know, lots of really awesome guitars in this, and throughout the whole album, this amazing guitars. I just tell Justin, like, Justin, just go crazy with the guitar. And he's like, can do. I just say, just go nuts, show off, you know, be a total show off in this. So Scorpio, which is a really sexy track, and it kind of introduces you to my vibe of spooky control and sex and telling you exactly what I want you to do to me. You top from the bottom. Top from the bottom. That's what I do. I top from the bottom.
Easier access to then eat them.
Right? See? You get me. Since the moment I met you, you got me. We kind of met and you're like, okay, well, I know this person.
Yeah. I mean, I think
I felt that way about you too.
Yeah. I loved the theatricality of it. And there's the connection between us also is that we love what we do and what we present, but we also, I think, have an inherent need to be understood.
Yes.
And that if you have a discussion with someone and then you're right on track, but then they get the right conclusion, but they get one of the whys wrong, you're like, I just want to address, you got the point.
You know.
Yeah, it's too much.
Much. I love you. You get it.
So then we dive into Cherry Blood, the single.
Yeah.
A lot of people would start with the single.
Yeah.
But you're letting it breathe for a minute.
Yeah.
Why is it important to go from Scorpio Witch, which is sort of like your mission statement, into Cherry Blood?
Well, the sound for Scorpio Witch kind of like kind of slaps you, like you have these kind of I wanted to make noises in Scorpio Witch that sounded like dirty wind chimes, like made out of forks that are like on a abandoned porch, like in the middle of the bayou and stuff like that. So that kind of is like, whoa, what's happening? Whoa! So it kind of grabs you, but Cherry Blood kind of lures you in, like, ooh, where is this taking me? You know, you hear these backwards whispers of a biblical prayer, and you're like, what is this? Where am I going? I'm going to follow it, rather than being, like, dragged by the throat, like, whoa, this is
You're being lured.
You're being lured in, like, where is that coming from, you know? And
were you raised with a particular faith?
They tried so hard to make me Catholic. They tried so fucking hard. They tried so hard. Fuck that shit. I'll have a lot of I rip up Bibles on stage and stuff like that. And
Did you go to Catholic school?
yeah, I didn't go to Catholic school, but they put me like in CCD and all that stuff. So one of my hashtags is CCD dropout and stuff like that. I used to show up to CCD in a PVC trench coat that had a strawberry shortcake sticker on it.
That is the look.
Right.
That tells
right.
you everything.
It's buried in the front yard of the house that I grew up in, which is funny. I buried that coat. So goth. Always so goth. So fucking goth. So, yeah, they tried to make me Catholic, and they failed.
You didn't take.
No.
Bounced right off you.
No.
So, I mean, again, it's interesting because, again, you do have a lot of references. There's the psychosexual nature of the album. Psychosexual and religious themes tend to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I guess when your Messiah tells you to drink their blood and eat their flesh, that lends itself.
Yeah.
I
like to play around with that. I like to joke with that.
Right. I mean, it must have been a really interesting thing for his disciples to hear out of context. It must have been like, wait, hold on a second.
Who knows if he ever really said that?
Well, no.
Who knows if any of that,
But I mean, but it was also it's based on a Seder, which is a traditional Jewish ceremony. So it's like there's this whole there's.
The whole thing's ridiculous.
The whole thing is
but I like to kind of fuck with messing with Catholicism is a general theme of something that I've done on stage and in my music, because a lot of it is a big fuck you to the members of my family that really tried to push that on me and tried to make me something that I'm not. Like my mom's mom, Nanny, who I call her. She always wanted me to be her thing. My mom also too. They tried to make me their thing. They wanted me to be this person. Like my fiance and I, we got engaged in 2016, and when we got engaged, they told me like, oh, we have this wedding fund we've been saving since you were an infant, and as we were trying to make plans, I realized that wedding fund was not for me. It was for the person that they imagined I would grow up to be.
Did it come with strings?
So many. They didn't want to let me get married unless it was exactly the way they wanted, with exactly their kind of ceremony, their kind of food, and everything. And I had to invite like all these old people who I never met because Nanny went to their wedding. It's only fair that they went to mine. Fuck that. When I finally get married, none of them are coming to that. It's just gonna be our friends. Fuck that noise and fuck them. Seriously.
Well, that segues.
We'll get to that song in a bit. But there's a whole song about that.
Well, we segue
into
Ultimate Sinner, which I guess is there's this sort of segment, Cherry Blood through, I would say, oxytocin and then a little bit of straight razor, which is sort of like id. All hedonism all the time.
Yeah.
There's a dip of it back in Confess, but I think that Confess is I got sort of a vibe of it. This is sort of dirty, where everything else
sort of dirty.
No. But this is sort of dirty, and I'm acknowledging that it's dirty. Everything else was unapologetic.
Yeah.
So I
don't like to compromise. I
put that in a different league. Oxytocin and Ultimate Sinner and Cherry Blood are more unapologetic, frankly.
Yeah.
They're not giving any.
Cherry Blood, I have a line, bite the flesh and give me head.
Yeah.
Because in the chorus, there's just a lot of sex throughout the I would say the first part of the album. Ultimate Sinner is about Miss Cherry Delight's struggle with sexual frustration and dealing with that through cannibalism. And the kind of cinematic images that I had writing the song are her in a goth club, kind of looking at the dance floor and deciding who she wants, and she kind of is deciding who she's going to take home and who she's going to eat. And the thing is, her band they're kind of like her crew. They don't partake in what she does, but they protect her in a way. So if someone comes looking for her body, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know. They'll cover for her.
And they know they're safe.
They know that they're safe. They know that I'll keep them safe. That I'm not gonna, because I need them. They gotta play for me. They're my band. I need them. They know the music. They rehearsed with me. I'm not gonna eat them. But Ultimate Sinner is dealing with. I mean, like I said, she doesn't expect her relationships to work out. She's had her heart broken a few times, and it's been enough to be like, fuck that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to get too attached to people. I'm going to choose who I like, and that's equal opportunity, because Miss Cherry Delight likes all the flavors. Don't matter. She likes it all. Doesn't matter where you come from or what's in your pants. Gimme. You know? So she loves for the time that you're with her, and she goes after you if you're a really good person, if you're pure of heart, and you the nicer you are, the more appealing you are to her, because she likes to corrupt. That's a really fun thing, you know, fogging up someone's glasses and really just taking the nerd and making him into a sex panther is a really fun thing. Well, that was great. Goodbye, you know, and so that stays with her, and you know, she tries not to trip up and get too attached to people, so that's how she kind of protects herself from that. And the last line of that song is a direct quote from Issei Sagawa, who was not a serial killer but a cannibal who killed his classmate and ate them. So the last line of the song is a direct translated from Japanese quote from him, because I figured if I'm going to write a song about cannibalism, I may as well have the words of someone who's actually eaten someone.
You want to be as authentic, again, as possible.
Yeah.
And then oxytocin, which is, I mean,
I think it's
your first legal drug.
Yes. Oxytocin, for anyone who doesn't know, it's the bonding hormone, the neurotransmitter in your brain, and the highest dose of it is when you have an earth-shattering orgasm. It's the hormone in your brain that makes you feel like you're high when you're having an orgasm, like when you're having like a really out-of-body euphoric. When you're coming, it's your brain telling you this feels good, and like just when you feel it like in your fingertips and like your toes, and you're like, whoa, that is the highest dose of oxytocin you can get. So this is, in my opinion, it's the sexiest song on the entire album, and it's from another character that I've been toying with, Cherry Daddy, who is not Miss Cherry Delight, but the character Cherry Daddy is someone that I came up with while writing this, and she's a pro-dom superstar. She doesn't know Miss Cherry Delight. She's just kind of someone else in the world. She is like known as like the ultimate lover, but she doesn't have sex on camera. She's just known to be this like everyone wants to be with her, but you have to go through a lot of kind of I would say just jump through a bunch of hoops to really to earn her, and you become in this kind of sex cult of cherry sluts. She has this kind of really...
Is that what you call your fans? Cherry sluts?
Yeah, they're cherry sluts. So anyone who's my fan is a cherry slut. That's kind of the word. You know, Justin Bieber has the Beliebers.
Hashtag cherry slut.
Hashtag cherry slut. So Cherry Daddy, to be a cherry slut, like, well, people like leave their jobs and like their families to try to get to be a cherry slut, and you have to go through a bunch of interviews and stuff like that, because not only does she have to be attracted to you, but she has to like you, because you're gonna chill with her if you're gonna be there, you know. She has to enjoy your company, so she has this kind of menu of people, and she can call them in whenever she needs oxytocin at any level, whether she wants, if say, you know, okay, well, I really want someone to cuddle me on the couch, send in Big Heath. So she'll cuddle on the couch with Big Heath and like, so I want someone to rub my feet. Bring in Matt, you know. So that, you know, I want someone to make out with. Bring in Justine, you know. So like everyone, and they all have these kind of red collars on with a little loop. And there's going to be a music video for Oxytocin. It's going to be really, really hot. But the people who want to be cherry sluts, it's like, you know, Metalocalypse, when the fans are like, oh my god, and they try to break into the house. It's like that. It's like that. But Cherry Daddy, she's dressed like a pro-dom, and she calls herself that because mistress and goddess and all the terms like that just aren't good enough. Queen isn't good enough because it's always second best to king. Goddess isn't good enough. It's always second best to God. She's like, why can't I be number one? So daddy. You call me daddy. And everyone's like, okay. We're not going to deny that. So she's Cherry Daddy. And Cherry Daddy has a whole outfit, actually. Glitter Macabre has made me an incredible coat. That's a Cherry Daddy coat. That's like a cross between a biker coat and a ringmaster coat, but it's like, it's crazy looking. It's so cool. I can't wait to reveal it on the 11th at the show.
Are there costume changes?
There's costume changes in this show. Definitely costume changes in this show. I hired my costumer, Lori Gassi.
Has been shouted out on this podcast.
Oh yeah,
a number of times.
She is the one because she makes awesome burlesque costumes that are really over the top and that have really slick quick change reveals. She's very good at making costumes that can detach and break away in really creative and smooth ways. So she makes costumes you can really strip out of very well. So she's someone who I've worked with for a long time, and she really gets me. And so there are costume changes throughout this entire show, but Oxytocin is the only song on the album from Cherry Daddy's point of view, and she lets you get to know her in this song, and she really talks about how much she needs physical contact. She wants love on her at all times. You know, she always wants someone touching her. She always wants someone kissing her. She wants someone to just be with her all the time, whether it's one person or many people. She has multiple partners. Of course, she's always safe, but you know, she just wants companionship on a massive level and to be absolutely fucking adored. And I think that people, of course, relate to wanting to be loved like that. So this is a song that's so sexy, you're gonna pull over and be like, listen, we're gonna be late.
Didn't you just,
you know.
you off the record, you described your co-writer that you wanted a song about like the feeling of like blood.
Yeah, I said like,
inflating.
Justin, write a guitar solo that sounds like getting a boner. And it so does, like a guy boner or a lady boner. It just sounds like
engorgement.
The guitar's parts in this song sound like engorgement, and it's really, really sexy. This is a song that you can really fuck to. So I'm very excited to share that with everyone.
So if you thought that Only Closer by Nine Inch Nails.
Oh no, this leaves okay, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but Oxytocin leaves Closer in the dust. Sorry, Trent. Trent, you had your time. And if I see one more burlesque performer dance to Closer, I'm gonna fucking scream.
This gives you an alternative. This gives you an alternative, because I'm so done with that shit. I'm done with the performers that dance to Closer, and I'm done with the move with the glove where you jack off the glove. No more! No more! I've seen it! Come on! The way I'm talking, it's like just Seinfeld. The way I said, come on here, boom, 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 boom. Jerry complaining, what is it with burlesque performers? They always dance to Closer, and they always jack off their gloves. I mean, come on. Oh boy, Seinfeld. And then it'd be like, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry. Come on, Larry, let's go to the burlesque show.
camping. I want to go. Larry, why not? Because they always dance the same song. Larry, it's not going to be like that. How do you know? God damn it, Larry. Stay home then. Fine. Curb is my favorite show. God damn it, Larry.
Shift and we take a peek at I mean we had a little moment of it with your real life cannibal story, but a fascination that you have with serial killers,
Yeah.
and the lore and the
True
status
crime
that we give.
stuff.
Yeah. Which I mean is a concept. I mean, you mentioned Marilyn Manson. He's probably one of the most famous examples of. I mean, his name and the band's name is the
Marilyn
creation
Monroe and
of
Charles Manson.
Is the creation of America's fascination
Mm-hmm.
with those types of.
Manson was my savior for a long time when I was a kid. You know, I 3 out of the 4 walls in my bedroom were completely collaged from ceiling to floor of just printouts of Manson all over my room. And he's one of my biggest influences. Not so much now, but I mean, Antichrist Superstar, I still wear out that album. It's one of my favorites. And also Mechanical Animals,
Yes, my favorite.
which was very inspired by Ziggy Stardust. So his sound and
I think
his image.
the first album where he gave himself permission to sound pretty.
Yes,
there are some
absolutely.
pretty songs on that album.
Absolutely, and it's a great point. A few people have told me that I have vibes that could be like female Marilyn Manson, and that means a lot to me. That means a lot if some people think that. But Straight Razor is a song that I wrote about Charles Manson, and specifically from an interview quote where someone says, tell me in a sentence who you are. And he says, nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me. So I wrote this song inspired by that response. Just about there's a lot of Easter eggs throughout the song, references to different members of the Manson family, Squeaky and death to pigs and all the different things, because just the idea of this cult of people who really just did whatever he wanted to do is terrifying. And I never really understood Charles Manson until I started to really read about him, and then I was like, oh. And the whole thing with Sharon Tate and how they just broke into their house and killed her, and they were gonna take the baby out of her stomach, but they didn't. And Roman Polanski was overseas when it happened, and just crazy. I went to the Museum of Death in New Orleans, and I saw a whole thing about that. But I you know, it may ruin my street cred, but I don't think I'd go back to the Museum of Death because it was a little too much for me. Like, they pump a formaldehyde smell in there, and it's a lot. And I love spooky shit, but I like spooky shit with a limit to it. Not that I'm a chicken or anything like that, but some of it can get a little tasteless. I love serial killer stuff. I love learning about those kinds of things, but then there are some things that kind of cross the line that are like, okay, this is getting to be like just blood for blood's sake, you know? If I'm gonna go on stage and I'm gonna have blood, there's gonna be a reason why there's blood. I hate when someone goes on stage and brings like a solo cup and just dumps blood on them. What the fuck is that shit? Give me a reason. Tell me a story. Yeah. Give me a narrative. Otherwise, don't put blood on yourself. Like, there's always a reason why I have blood on me.
There's always a reason why we naturally have blood on ourselves.
Yeah.
So it really shouldn't be that difficult.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
You don't just suddenly have blood on you.
No, just give me a reason, or just get off the fucking stage. I'm mean. You know, I mean, I've said, like, if I ever taught at the New York School of Burlesque, people would be in trouble, because I'd make people cry. I'd be like, I'm not letting you on stage until you can prove to me that you have something substantial with a really good idea that will give me a promise that after this show, you're going to continue to make good material. Otherwise, you're not going to graduate. And that's not how that program works, because you graduate no matter what. But
you don't necessarily work after that.
You don't necessarily work after that, but I wanna, when I go to shows, when I see music or shows, I'm like, give me something that I never saw before. Like I said, show me you.
Well, we're at a point also with I think we're not the height. I think serial killers have always been fascinating.
Oh yeah.
There was a big stretch in the 90s where everything was particularly inspired by you had the whole Hannibal Lecter series and everything, basically everything
Patrick
that Morgan
Bateman.
Freeman starred in. Yes, with American Psycho. But right
South
now we have Mindhunter and My Favorite Murder, and I guess we're at a point where we can talk more about our interest in true crime. I mean, there are entire TV channels dedicated to it.
Yeah, I mean, my favorites of all time are Albert Fish. And one of my favorite gateways into Jeffrey Dahmer was an act by Machine Dazzle. Changed my life. Didn't act as Jeffrey Dahmer. That was the full story and was so cinematic and so beautiful. And at the very end, when he was complete, he was totally naked at the end, and he dragged on this entire pile of organs and bones that he made, that you could tell, he made it out of like stockings that were stuffed and stuff like that. Just, you could tell it was a huge pile of body parts, and he dragged it onto the stage and he spooned them. And it was so deep and it was so beautiful that the whole audience stood up and clapped, because that was the essence of Jeffrey Dahmer, is like the loneliness and the just wanting someone to love him, and that I think can be a theme with a lot of people who murder people, is the desire to be loved and the desire for sex and all those things, a desire to be touched and stuff like that, and not getting that, and the frustration from that making you lash out and do terrible, terrible things. But I think it's really important to understand what human beings are capable of doing, and the stories of it are like scary stories, except they actually happened in real life. So there is a very strong Jeffrey Dahmer theme in the Miss Cherry Delight character and what she does and stuff like that. There are some themes like that that have to do with her. But I think that she just eats people raw. I don't think she really cooks them or anything like that. I think it's a thing where she just consumes.
If she was going, she'd have other people cook for her.
Yeah.
More of a chef situation.
I don't think that it's something that she really relishes. I think it's just a need. It's less of a, oh, I love to eat people. It's just I have to do this. I have to do this.
Yeah, it's compulsion.
It's a compulsion. It's a problem that she does, and it's something that she hides. She does it by herself. It's very much I have to do this. Okay, who's next kind of a thing.
It's eating the evidence.
It's a tick, you know?
Yeah.
That's what it is for her. It's a tick that she deals with. Yeah, so
we take a sharp left
yeah.
with
Sure we
our
do.
next track.
Yeah.
Hashtag Blessed, which on a more conventional album would probably be an interlude and a little shorter.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like, like a little marionette piece.
Yeah.
It's carousel-y without the circus element.
Yeah.
But there's definitely that. I'm going to have it in my head for a while.
It's a satanic pop song.
Yeah. And
80s satanic pop song.
and that's actually an interesting element of the album. The album, while it features some gory details and is psychoerotic and hypersexual, it is a pop record.
Yeah.
At the core, it is a pop record.
Yeah, it is.
It is incredibly listenable.
Aww.
And it is not because I don't love heavy metal music, and I don't love a lot of music where people are as much as I love discordant sounds.
Yes.
In my music, your discordant sounds that you choose and that your collaborator worked in aren't unsettling to the ear.
Yeah.
And I think probably the most raucous is Cherry Blood. Everything else is almost a
really?
A
Cherry
bop.
Blood's the most...
I think so.
Yeah?
That and the 31st I thought are both pretty loud.
Yeah, I would say that
But everything else is almost a bop.
Yeah. Well, the album you can dance through this album. You can very much dance through this album. That's what I wanted. I wanted something you could really dance to. Whether on stage or by yourself or with your friends in the club. The 31st was, like I said, was like my Hit Me Baby One More Time. It's really kind of poppy but like spooky, and that was the first real scream that I had. And talking about that song, The 31st, there's a line in the breakdown that's, "This is my costume and I always dress to kill." And what that means is who I am, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
This is my costume, you know? My essence of who I am, that's my costume. And I'm not changing or taking that off for anyone. This is who I am. And, I'm extra. That's who I am. That's my costume forever. And you don't get to tell me, how to be. That's me. So that's when I scream on any song, it's not just to scream. It's to emphasize a point that means something to me. I'll always scream if I'm saying something. If I'm saying something I want you to hear. But I'll never just scream to scream.
I do. So we
Hashtag
go...
blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
I said that I wanted this song, like I told you, I wanted this song to sound like if all the Lisa Frank characters were fucking in hell with pink and purple flames. And this song is about how the devil DMs me on Instagram and we hook up, and then I take his powers and then I become the devil because I drink his cum. There's a lot of cum on this album.
There's a bit.
There's a bit of cum on this album,
Cum
but cum and blood,
The fluids.
They're magically delicious.
And so began Miss Cherry Delight's sponsorship deal. And that has a
Where's the lie though?
But it has this. You actually wrote you said a response track to yourself.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes.
With Uncensored.
Uncensored comes in with a computer voice that shuts down hashtag blessed because the computer and the Zuckerberg thing, they hear hashtag blessed and they decide that it's unsuitable for the internet. So they stop the song and they tell me that my post has been deleted because it violates the community standards on nudity and violence. And I've been blocked from posting for 30 days. And if I do something that breaks the standards again, my account will be deleted. And this song is basically about how myself and many other performers out there that we all know
Mhm.
get blocked from Facebook for stupid shit. For not even being nude.
You didn't
They
even give us
see-
a chance.
Right? Yo, I've been blocked for, like, pasties. Like, okay, Fancy Feast made me these amazing pasties that look like the same size and the same shade of my nipples, except they're rhinestone. And they're great. And they see that they're clearly pasties. They sparkle, and they block me. And I can't even get on my account and explain to them it's not real, you know? So
Without even getting into the element of why would it matter if they were real per se.
right, and why would it fucking
Yeah.
matter?
Yeah.
It's my favorite part of my body, you know? I'm serious. It's my
Your
favorite part
nipples?
of my Yeah.
You got.
They're good. They're
good stuff.
They're chocolatey goodness. I got the chocolate nips. I got the tiny chocolate Hershey Kisses nips, which is funny. But I spent over 200 days in Facebook jail last year for stupid things I didn't belong in Facebook jail for, and I see it happening to my friends all the time, and it's not okay. So I wrote this really fucking angry song while I was blocked from Facebook called Uncensored, and, you know, that's just who the fuck we are, you know? We're artists. We're expressing ourselves. We don't have anyone on our profiles that's a child.
Mm-hmm.
We're all mature adults,
Mm-hmm.
and we're all supporting each other with our artwork.
Yeah.
You know, this is how we make a living, and this is how we express ourselves through burlesque, stuff like that. And, you know, threatening and deleting our artwork and then keeping us from communicating and using Facebook as a business tool,
Mm-hmm.
it's fucking bullshit. So I wrote this song, and it very much has a really intense Atari Teenage Riot sound, and I said, I want a song about this, and I want people to mosh to it. I want people to get broken noses to this. I want people to feel it, because, you know, it means it's not just for me, it's for all of us who are so frustrated with this, and, you know, Fuckerberg and all this bullshit. Do not censor me. I'm gonna, like, if I ever get someone approaching me, like, for a record deal, things like that, what I know is that they try to control you, and I don't want anyone telling me what I can or can't say. I don't want anyone telling me what I can or can't write about. You know, that's not gonna go over well. And it's usually why I can't keep a job in the regular world. Like, once people understand that I'm not anonymous and I can't really play by the rules like that, I usually don't last very long. So I kind of am, you know, a lot of artists, you know, like myself, we're kind of the people that have to be our own bosses.
Mm-hmm.
We have to we kind of have to make our own rules,
Mm-hmm.
because we can't really play by other people's rules. So this song is a big fuck you to social media, trying to censor art.
Mm-hmm. While still running the world.
Like,
Because they're the one making the decisions.
One of the things that made me the most mad, that I'll never forget, I was watching the news, and they were talking about this Picasso painting, and they blurred out parts of the Picasso painting that had, like, what were representing body parts. They blurred out a Picasso painting. What the fuck? Yo, that was not okay. That was so stupid. What?
And ironically, it was probably like a nose.
Right? It was probably a nose! I know, my God. I'm just mad. So that song's pretty fucking mad. That's what that's about. And I think that people are going to like it.
I would say this is our when we turn the record over segment, because
Yeah.
it's about halfway through.
Yeah.
So this probably would open on your vinyl. The second
once
side.
I can afford to make them. And people have been asking. They don't just want vinyl. They want it to be red vinyl.
Yeah, they want fancy vinyl.
It would be cool. Once I can afford that, that will be really fun.
So people buy the digital copies first.
Yeah.
And then you will have earned your vinyl from Cherry Daddy.
Those will be very special, because they're expensive to make. Really fucking expensive to make. But it'll happen. It'll happen.
which again brings in the religious imagery.
Yes.
Walk us through this very subtle, quiet piece.
Yeah, that's sarcastic for anyone out there who didn't catch that. Confess essentially is this kind of cinematic piece about two girls who break into a Catholic church and climb on the altar and fuck.
In spite of the altar, or it just happened to be the next available thing?
Both. And they fuck really hard on it. I wanted to write a song that girls could really fuck to. There's a lot of songs, I mean, like, the only songs that girls can really fuck to are, like, by Lords of Acid, which are, like, one of my biggest influences. And I was just on stage with them, actually, which was pretty cool. But, you know, a lot of songs about girl-on-girl things are, like, you know, Tattoo, you know, and, you know, songs that are... Yeah, and I wanted to write a song that you could really get primal with, that girls who fuck girls could really get down to it. I mean, anyone can fuck to it, but this is specifically...
It's for them.
This is specifically for girls who kiss girls. This is a song that you can kiss each other all over to, and bite each other all over to, and more. And more!
You personally identify as pansexual, yes?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. How important was it to be as upfront about your sexuality as in your music making?
I'm poly, and I'm pansexual. So this album really expresses that. I also have not had any truly satisfying queer experiences in my life. And a lot of that frustration comes out in this album. There's a ton of sexual frustration in this album. Because I've never really had a really satisfying experience with a girl. Yet. There is a yet in there. Whoever you are, dream girl. Get at me. Get at me wherever you are.
Hashtag cherry slut.
Hashtag cherry sluts. I want my cherry sluts. Confess was inspired by a girl that I met in October and was talking to through November, December, who I thought was really gorgeous. You know, we got together, and that kind of that feel was inspired by this song and carries into the next song, Here Kitty Kitty, because this girl really led me on. I noticed that the way that she approached my body was the way that a straight girl approaches a guy's body. And I was like, you don't... She didn't really know what she was doing, but she was so hot that I didn't care. I was just like, hot girl wants to touch me, let's go, you know, because I just thought that she was so beautiful. So I ignored a lot of the things that I should have been really listening to, but she really led me on, and the next time that I saw her, she was very hands-off. And I was like, but you told me when we had dinner that you'd never felt this way about another girl before, and I said that also, and I meant it. The thing was, I meant it, and you didn't. So this song, Here Kitty Kitty, that comes next, is the turning point of the album where it becomes more vulnerable, and it's very much about the girl that leads you on and is like, yeah, you want this? Come here. Whoops. Nope.
Oop, out of reach. Let's just be friends, okay? No, it's not okay. It's not okay. So I wrote a song about that, how, you know, a lot of girls, just a lot of people in general, but specifically a lot of girls love to, they're game players. It's not okay. I'm so done with it. So I wrote a song about that that's like about this behavior and how I'm not going to tolerate it anymore, you know? And this is, in the story, one of the backstories as to why Miss Cherry Delight hunts people is because she's been hurt like this before, when she's opened her heart, when she's allowed someone in to kind of, that she's followed and been like, yes, you, and they've been like, nope, and she's like, you know what,
this can't happen again. The next time I find someone that I really like, I'm not going to allow myself to open my heart to them. I'm just going to consume them before they can do anything like this again. So at the end of the song, I say, you love to watch me fall. You love to watch me crawl. Is this the price I'll pay? No, not today. And that's kind of Miss Cherry Delight deciding what her future is going to be like when it comes to matters of the heart, is that she's not going to really use her heart anymore. She's just going to use her pussy.
Well, and that's the introduction to the next series of songs, which are essentially about women that have had wrongdoing to them.
Yeah. You're right!
That was on purpose. I mean, it was on purpose, even if it wasn't necessarily.
My mind! You're explaining to me what I wrote!
Well, I mean, because what we immediately we go back as far as we can when it comes to the persecution of powerful women. One of the most symbolic elements of that is the Salem witch trials.
Yeah, and this song's called 1692, about just that. I mean, the whole theme of this is, you know, these girls weren't allowed to do anything except, I mean, these Puritans, all they allowed these people to do were just, like, sit in the candlelight and pray. That's it. They couldn't listen to music. They couldn't date. They couldn't do anything except that. So what happens when all you allow someone is to worship a god that they fear? What do you think's gonna happen? Of course you'd go fucking crazy. Of course you would go crazy. What did you think? What did you expect? You know? So that's what this is about. You know? So yeah, that's me basically telling this real life scary story of, like, you want to know what happened? This happened. So if you want your good girl, this is what happens to good girls. This is what happens when you try to make a good girl, you know? That it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
And it's incredibly danceable. It's still, I think I called it your ministry song.
Yeah.
It just gives me like, I just want to bop like I'm up it. Like, I just want to turn.
Aren't you?
I mean, always, perpetually.
But, I mean, also the theme of, you know, they tried to make a good girl out of me.
Yeah.
They tried to push me down and make me Catholic and all these things, and, you know, it's just like, no! You know, breaking out of that. That kind of theme is also in this song. And I wrote this as kind of like a goth club mix for anyone who's felt like that, to be like, yeah, you know, we can dance to that.
And then we get, I think this is the first really slow, non-sexual song.
Yeah.
Because Oxytocin is slow, but it's grinding. This is slow and is quite beautiful. I think it is my favorite track on the album.
Broken Doll?
I think it is.
Aww.
I think it is. I too have an interest in Elizabeth Short and the
Black Dahlia.
The uncertainty of what led to her being found bisected in a field. The Hollywood dream and the idea of an actress coming to try her hand at fame and recognition. I mean, that's sort of a classic tale. And obviously one of the more notorious true crime storylines in the 20th century, I would say. Films, books, dissertations, and now a Miss Cherry Delight song.
Yeah. Well, I'm obsessed with her, you know. My Black Dahlia act I've been doing for 10 years. It's the first really solid act I ever had. It's a fan dance. This is my first fan dance I did. But I've been fascinated with that cold case since I was 15 years old. I've read a lot of books about her, and I've done a lot of research about her. And it started off with the fascination of the horror of what happened to her. And as I grew into adulthood, I just started to really feel for her. What a terrible, terrible thing that she did not deserve to happen to her. And I really grew to not just see her as this kind of victim character, but to someone that I truly started to empathize with and really loved. I mean, I really love her. I love her like she was like my relative or my grandmother or something. I feel a very deep connection to her, what happened to her. Nasta actually said to me once that she said that like the Black Dahlia, the story is kind of like a demented Snow White in a way. But so trusting and so loving and wanting to be famous so badly that this ended up happening to her. For anyone out there who doesn't know Black Dahlia, she was 22 years old, and she was in the 40s, and she was found in a vacant lot like right next to the street. So the street's here, the sidewalk's here, and then like the vacant lot's here, and her body was like right there.
Right there on the grass, yeah.
And she was drained of blood medically, dissected like with surgical tools in half, totally in half, clean. And her face was cut ear to ear in a smile, and she was posed with her arms above her head and her legs out in the style of a Man Ray painting. They never found out who did it. They have suspicions who did it. They believe this Dr. Hodel did it. The LAPD actually approached him and said, "We're going to get you. We know it's you." And he was like, "Bye!" And he flew to the Philippines and never came back. His house was this crazy mansion. It's still there, and you can rent it out for parties and stuff. It's crazy looking. You have to look up this house. It's nuts. It's nuts. But I wrote this song. It's a special song for a special girl, and it's from her point of view. And they say that you die twice. Once when you actually die, and then the second time is when the last person forgets you, who knew you. And I'm not gonna ever let that happen to her, you know. Everyone, she's so famous and everything like that, but I care about her deeply. So there's a line, the last line in the song is, "From my rotting flesh the dahlias grow, and I am in them, and that is eternity. Please remember me." It's the last line of the song, and I just love her. So that song, Broken Doll, is about her. Oh,
It's pretty.
Oh, thanks.
I love it, and I love
babes.
the outro of it. The whole composition of that song, I think, is really powerful.
The guitar solo at the end, that's really fast and dancey and stuff. When I hear it, I see her pictures.
Yeah, they just flash.
I see pictures flashing from her life and her death, and how beautiful she was, and how terrible of a thing that happened to her. So yeah, that's my special song for her. I wasn't gonna write an album without something about the Black Dahlia. I also, I own grass from where they found her. I own grass from that actual spot. Because if you go on, I'll give you a little secret, gentle listener. You go on the Wikipedia for the Black Dahlia, and you go into the section of her murder. There's a longitude and latitude of where they found her. You can copy and paste that into Google Maps, and it will give you an exact location. And that's where you can get some dirt from the Black Dahlia if you ever want some. But you didn't hear that from me.
We moved from the dirt to the sea.
Yeah! So this song is called Sea of Teeth, and I wrote it for Bambi the Mermaid. This is a song for Bambi. I wrote it for her so she could do an act to it as my gift to her for bringing me into the direction of pursuing this destiny of my music because of the speech that she gave me about how I can do this on my own. So this is my present to her. And it's a really fun track about a siren who grabs you and eats you, but you're so lured to her that you can't possibly resist her. You jump off the ship and you swim to her, and I picture this. It's very cinematic. I see a very Guillermo del Toro kind of approach to these images. The mermaid voice on this track is Miss Laura Lee Anderson, who you may know as Laura Lee Pants. Awesome singer, awesome dancer, performer from The Love Show. So she's the voice of the mermaid, and she plays violin. She shreds violin on this track. and she is my backup singer live for all of my stuff.
And she'll be there on May 11th?
She'll be there on May 11th with me. She's a kick-ass singer, beautiful person inside and out, just such a good girl, and I love her dearly, and I can't think of anyone else I'd want to share the stage with, and when it comes to singing with me like her. Her voice is awesome. We sound really good together. I trust her completely to sing anything I throw at her, like, can you do this? Oh yeah, sure. And she does it, and it's amazing. She can do everything. She plays a violin, she walks on stilts, she can sing, she tap dances, she does everything. She can do the splits. She's great. And she's probably one of the funniest girls I've ever met. But she is my partner in crime on stage for now and forever, because she's so good. Who else could I possibly get that could, do it better but her?
And the final two tracks, I think the evidence are, as personal as this album has been.
Yeah.
These are probably, I would say, the most personal.
Yep. You can say that again.
So the penultimate song called Mine.
Yes.
How would you describe that?
I was really nervous to record this track, but I'm really, really glad that I did. Mine is not a Miss Cherry Delight song. Mine is a song about me off stage. This is a song about my trauma in my life, what I've been through, that I survived and I got through it, and that there's a way out. I was raped when I was 11 years old by the husband of my dad's cousin, my quote-unquote Auntie Joy. Her husband, my Uncle Richard, he groomed me from the time I was towards the end of my being 9, and then he made his final move when I was 11. And I told my parents, and they didn't believe me. I told my mom. She went to my grandmother, my dad's mom, and I'm half Filipino, and with that Asian kind of culture, my Lola said to not tell anyone because it would bring shame on the family, and that I wouldn't be able to find a good husband. And then my mom went to my dad, and he said that I was lying, and that Richard was his friend, and that if my mom said anything, that he would beat the shit out of her. So my mom was too weak and too stupid to protect her daughter. When you're a mom, you have one job. As soon as the person is out of your body, one job is to protect them at all costs. And she didn't do that for me. And when soon after that it became very violent, and they started throwing me in mental institutions as a young kid. They put me in Westchester Medical Center and Four Winds and stuff like that, and they were trying to cover up what happened to me by making me and people around me believe that I was insane. They convinced me that there was something wrong with me. They told me that I was bipolar and that I had multiple personality disorder and stuff, and pumped me full of all kinds of pills. And the truth was, I didn't have any of those things. I had severe PTSD. And they tried to cover it up. And they put me in special ed and all this stuff. They kept me down. They kept me in this thing. But the real thing was, my mom told me that I couldn't tell my dad what happened to me because she said he would kill Richard and go to jail forever. So if I wanted to protect my dad, this never happened. They gaslit me, totally gaslit me. And, I throughout my life just was really clouded and really strange to be around because I was dealing with this stuff, and I didn't tell anyone what happened to me. Then in 2015, I happened to look him up, and he had just been caught a month before I looked him up for tons of child porn and having sex with underage girls on camera and stuff like that. In Florida, they caught him. And I actually got the police officer from the precinct who put the handcuffs on him on the phone. I was like, look, this is not new. This happened to me when I was a kid. This person's very bad. Then just recently, he finally got put on trial. And I feel so bad for the girls in the courtroom. But he was about to be sentenced, and I found out that the judge was a woman. So I wrote her a letter. I wrote her everything that happened to me. I'd never written out everything I could remember. And I was like, look, you have to give him the maximum sentence. He's 58 now. But this happened to me 22 years ago. And it doesn't matter. If you let him out, it's going to happen again. You have to give him the maximum. I'm begging you, please. So, last week, on April 4th, he got sentenced. 22 life sentences for one person. He's gone forever. It was my ultimate dream come true. Ultimate dream come true. He's never gonna hurt anyone ever again. It's amazing. Pretty fucking amazing. Yeah. Ricardo Pombo Foster. He's done. And I wonder if he got the 22 life sentences because I told her it happened 22 years ago. I wonder about that. It's just a kind of thing that's like, whoa. But I didn't tell anyone about this until I started going to therapy a few years ago. Not until I was an adult. And healing through therapy helped me open my mind up and learn how to heal. I want this song to help any girl or any person who's been through what I've been through, especially if they were victims of child rape. I want this song to help them. I want this song to help them understand that there's a way out. And, this happened to me, but it didn't destroy me. It made me a stronger person because I survived it. And I want to give comfort to anyone who's been through or going through this, and to find support and not be around toxic people who aren't helping you. But this is my big fuck you to my family, and I am very happy to expose them publicly and let everyone know exactly who they are. The first verse is to my rapist. The second verse is to my mom. The bridge is to my dad. The third verse is to Nanny, my grandmother, who said the most fucked up thing that anyone's ever said to me. Because on Christmas a few years ago, she really just ripped into me about burlesque, what she really thought about what I did, and how, what a terrible, slutty person I am. And she looked me in the eye, my grandmother, who I loved, who I respected and loved. She looked at me in the eye and said, Uncle Richard really fucked you up. It's the nastiest, meanest thing that anyone's ever said to me, and people try to tell me in the family to forgive her. I know she's never going to apologize. I'll never, ever forgive her for that. I loved her, and she said that to me. And I'll never forgive her for that. And I tell her in the song that I wish she was dead. And the end part of the song, the chorus of the song is, I fought my way out of hell all by myself. Spit the pills that you fed me. You did not protect me. This vessel was a stranger, and now it is my greatest love, 'cause I survived. I am finally mine. And the last part of the song, I scream, my body is mine. Fuck you. And that is, that felt really good. And that scream at the end that I do, it was all one take. It was all one take. It all came out of me, and it was one take. So it's as real as it gets. That's world. That's who I am, and I am Miss Cherry Delight. And when I'm up there as Miss Cherry Delight, that's me as a grown-ass woman. When I take my clothes off, it's like I'm putting invisible armor on. And when I stand there in front of you without anything on, this is me as a grown-ass woman saying, I am an adult now. No one can hurt me. I am so powerful right now that I'm on top of the world. I'm beautiful and I'm strong, and no one can fucking touch me or hurt me again. So that's what Miss Cherry Delight is my triumph of being scared little Andrea, little girl who never had a chance. And now Miss Cherry Delight is like the final boss kind of image of like, I'm mine now. This body is mine now. Doesn't belong to anyone else but me. And that's what I want people to realize. Your body doesn't belong to anyone but you. You belong to yourself. Don't let anyone try to hurt you, You be strong and find love, So that's what mine is. And I hope that this song helps a lot of people. That's what I want.
And you end the album with a love song.
The album ends with a love song because I feel like if I ended it with mine, it would be too much. It's a lot, that song, So I end the song with a song called Stitch and Johnny. Stitch, Azantine, is my friend who runs Gothic Renaissance. And Johnny was his partner of 13 years, and Johnny just passed away, who was a very good friend of mine, who was an incredible guy, very talented interior designer, artist. He could sing, he could cook, he was so fucking handsome. The two of them were just the most beautiful couple I ever saw. And Johnny always made Stitch feel like the most beautiful person and took such good care of him. And the fact that he's gone now is, it hurts. So I wrote this send-off song for him that's a really rockin' send-off because Johnny truly ruled. And when Stitch is ready to hear it, he'll hear it. But I'm not going to pressure him. It's up to him when he wants to hear it. But I wrote it with all the love and respect in the world for who Johnny was and what their love is together. And also their puppy who passed away right after Johnny passed away, Gypsy. Her name is in the song too. And the song is about how Johnny may be, his soul is somewhere else. His body is not here, but his soul is here, and we feel him, and he's always going to be with us. This is a true love song for all of us in the underground goth community who know Stitch and knew Johnny and have a lot of love for this incredible man who was so dear to us. And you can definitely rock out to this song. It's not so sad that you're gonna like be destroyed. This is a song that's a real love song that can give you some mushy feelings, but you'll walk away from this song and from the album feeling really good. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. You heard the whole thing.
I did.
Not everyone's heard the whole thing.
I think it's good.
Oh, thank you so much, babes.
And I look forward to seeing what comes after, because this is only the start.
It's,
Because it has to be the only start, because the album is just
Yep.
done.
Yep.
Which means then everybody else gets to hear it. It means you get to play it live. It means you get to hear the response to people hearing it.
Whoa.
It means you get to stress out about what the next one will be. Like, you get all the...
I've already started writing songs for
all
the
the
next
good
one.
stuff.
Yeah.
All the good stuff.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much, babes. This is laying the foundation. This is laying the bricks down to build the house, because I want to be a rock musician,
Mhm.
you know. I want to be able to go on tour. I want to be able to play venues like Irving Plaza and Gramercy and, you know, go all over the place, and I want people to connect with my music, and this is what I want to do. I want to be like baby Alice Cooper. And well, I've said that Miss Cherry Delight is if Alice Cooper and Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics had a baby in the produce aisle. That's Miss Cherry Delight. They had just fucked on a pile of cherries, and I just came tap dancing out. That's me. Because, like, you have the raw sexuality of Wendy,
Yeah.
and then you have this spooky camp of, like, Alice Cooper. And I just saw him in September at the Beacon, and that was a full education. And that was one of the things that, like, where Cherry Daddy came to my head, was being inspired by Alice Cooper and seeing him in the 6th row and being like, oh, this is how it is done.
Mhm.
Just bringing, it felt like a Broadway show.
Mhm.
I highly recommend seeing him if you haven't, because it would inspire you.
Cool.
Just the whole thing, everything. He had a different outfit for every song, and he is in his 70s, and he moves like he is 21. I think it's all the golf.
Oh, could be.
I mean, his posture is better.
He's super zen.
He's super zen, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm so jealous of his daughter Calico. I want to be Cherry Cooper. I mean, I wish I was his daughter so bad. When he came out, I screamed, "Daddy!" I mean, just he comes out for Feed My Frankenstein, and he has the coat covered in blood, and I was just like, yes! Please! I just was looking at the stage, I'm like, I want to be him, you know? And that really inspired me also to continue the album and make this image of this theatrical, you know, powerful fuck demon goddess. So that is Cherry in a nutshell, and I really hope that you can download the album on iTunes. It's going to be on iTunes, streaming on Spotify. You can download it on Google Play, Amazon, and
You can
all
already
the
hear the
different...
first single.
Yes, you can hear Cherry Blood's already out there. There's a music video by Box Visuals that's really great. You can look it up on YouTube. It's out there. The uncensored one is on Vimeo, but you didn't hear that from me. That one's got the nipples. And
The uncensored nipples.
I know. Yeah. Those are the good ones. But watching it on YouTube does help me. And the 31st is out there. You can listen to both those songs on Spotify, and you can buy them on iTunes. Please buy them on iTunes.
Isn't that cool that you can say that?
When I saw that my songs finally went on iTunes, the night that it happened, the night they launched, and everyone was messaging me, they're on iTunes, I can buy your song. I cried like I won the Powerball. I never cried like that before. I was so happy. I couldn't stop crying. Just the thought that anyone from all over the world can type my name into a search engine and find my music and hear me, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. And I was so happy. And the fact, when this album launches, like, I'm gonna have many feels. And that evening will be the first time I've ever played my music live in front of an audience. I've sung everyone else's songs in front of an audience, but I never sung my own, you know? This is going to be like a huge thing, and it's going to be presented like a real party. There's going to be cake and balloons and food, and everyone's going to have a good time together.
And someday there will be a Cherry Melodies where you actually get to have your songs done as burlesque.
Well, actually, yeah, because in August, I'm doing Cherry Hellities.
Ooh.
Which is the second Cherry Hellities. Last year it sold out. This year it's going to sell out again, because It's crazy. It's me singing all metal songs with live burlesque happening in it. And there will be a few songs that are going to be my own in it. There's going to be a lot of covers, but there'll be some of my own. And that'll be the first time that Bambi is going to be dancing to Sea of Teeth.
Does she know that already?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She knows it. Also, I should also mention that Sea of Teeth is you know the cartoon Flapjack?
Yeah.
That's also a Flapjack reference. Because the Sea of Teeth is also a location in Flapjack. So that's a Flapjack reference.
A little.
I love Flapjacks.
A little Easter egg.
There's a little Flapjack Easter egg.
There's a bunch of those.
There are Easter eggs throughout this album that you'll catch on to. Like even Cherry Blood, there's a Warrant reference. Because I say when people catch it, they're like, "Yay!" Because the line is I do cherry tears rolling out your eyes taste so good make a grown man cry. And when they hear that, they're like, "Hey, Warren, cherry pie!" I'm like, "Yes," and I put that in so people realize, oh, this is not your ordinary cherry.
Right.
I put that in so people really understand that this is a whole new game that I'm bringing to the cherry fruit, because the cherry is the most sexualized fruit in pop culture. Besides now the
it is also frequently associated with virginity.
Yeah, it is. But for this, like in the video, they're all poison cherries that I feed to people. So the innocent image corrupting is a frequent theme throughout my entire brand, and that comes out with Cherry Blood when you sort of understand with that song exactly what Miss Cherry Delight is. And
I do have to say, the first time I heard it, I really did think you were talking about menstruation. Having sex during menstruation.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that element too. That element is good too.
There's no wrong answers.
Listen, as long as you're not cramping, let's go. You know, right? As long as you don't have cramps, you can do this. So that's Eat the Evidence.
Yeah. And
I really hope if you guys are listening to it out there, I really hope that you like it. If you do, tell me on Instagram or on my website.
And rate and review and all the things, so that really does help artists.
Yeah, that really
gets you up places.
that would really help me if you let people know that you like it. So that's what I got going on.
Excellent.
It's crazy to think about this, and you're the first person to interview me about it, so I really, really appreciate it. I love the shit out of you.
My pleasure. Love you too. I'm gonna let you go because you got rehearsal to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. My first rehearsal it's 7 of us, including myself. It's a 7-piece rock band. Okay. I have lead guitar, rhythm guitar, backing vocals, synth, drums, me, what else? 2 guitars, synth, drums, me, Laura Lee, and
just doing like a triangle or a spoon.
just a lot of awesomeness from the entire thing. Yeah, it's we're gonna be rehearsing for the first time, and that'll be the first time. Yes, and bass. How did I forget the bass?
You dropped the bass.
I dropped the bass. Beep 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 beep. Hello, Cherry Blood. Boom boom. No.
I for one am looking forward to the extended club mixes. That's what I'm here.
Yeah, there are probably gonna be some remixes out there.
I'm into it.
A lot of it is written for goth club stuff, but I think people will be surprised that it's written to be pretty accessible. I think that a lot of them can be played on the radio. That'd be really cool. That'd be really fucking cool. We'll see. That'd be really fun, and I really would love to do a tour. I really want to play Salem Horror Fest, because I know a lot of freaks come out to that, and it's like a 10-day horror convention, but they have bands play at night, and that would be really cool to be able to play for. I mean, what I know is I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But for the people who like my flavor, they're gonna get addicted to it, I think. I mean, my music is by a weirdo for weirdos, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, but I also think that people who are less weird can get down with it too. You know? We're all weird, though.
Yeah, I mean, you'll learn about how weird you are. You'll get through and you're like, oh.
Yeah, if you want to get to know me, this is the Cliff Notes. This album is a really good way to get to understand.
The beginning of the memoir.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks so much, babes.
Thanks, Cherry. You've been listening to We Burlesque the Podcast. I'm Viktor Devonne. My guest today has been Miss Cherry Delight. And we talked a lot about Eat the Evidence. Go find it. Go find it in all the places. In the footnotes, I will have links to how you can keep in touch with Miss Cherry Delight. But of course, there's the .coms, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, and all that. And
one more thing. If you want to get tickets to the Eat the Evidence party, go to coneyisland.com and look in the event section for May 11th. And it's a dress-up party, and the theme is like pink funeral.
Ooh,
so
nice.
lots of blacks and pinks and gothy and BDSM stuff, and lots of...
It's going to extend that into the Freak Bar and everything too, right?
Yes,
it's
yes. It's going to be the full
affair.
Full freak show theater. If you want to wear like the pink like Pepto-Bismol pink.
Right.
And like BDSM like cock cages and stuff. If you want to wear that, if you come wearing a cock cage, yo, I'm going to love you.
You'll get a free album code.
Right, totally. All right, I love you so much, and thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.